Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Closing Table with Nicole. I am here with Bobby Lieb, Associate Broker at Compass. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me here. Appreciate it.
Well, why don't we start right in and why don't you tell me a little bit about what brought you to Arizona, and then we'll go into your phenomenal real estate career.
I appreciate that. So my parents divorced when I was like 8 years old. We were living in North Carolina. My dad moved to Phoenix. I moved with my brother, who's in commercial real estate now for a long time, and my mom to Atlanta. And we used to come visit my dad a couple times a year um, to visit him. And he had a lady store at Park Central. It was interesting because 30, 40 years ago, you from Phoenix, Arizona to from Atlanta to Phoenix, you had to take two stops. There was no direct flights. You had to stop in Dallas. And then when you get to the airport, there was no terminal. They'd throw you out in the tarmac when it was 150 degrees. So that's how I got welcomed to Phoenix. But so we used to come visit my dad a couple times a year.
Mm-hmm.
My freshman year in college, I ended up playing baseball at Arizona State and then went back to Georgia and then South Carolina. And then my dad owned a nightclub at 22nd Street in Highland. There was Ed DeBevick's was there, a place called the Jockey Club. And I came to work with my dad in the nightclub in 1976. We had that club for 8 years. And then we opened up, we had like 2,000 members. And then we opened up a second club after we sold that at Central and Camelback. Now the Henry's going in that same shopping center. We had that for about 7 years. But 1 year into that, I had realized that I did not like people anymore. I did not want to be in the nightclub business anymore. We still kept it, but I end up, two good buddies of mine, Mark Moskowitz and Ronnie Gilbert, who were with Realty Executives, said, hey, why don't you come do real estate? And it was all the way from Central Phoenix. I had to get on the freeway and get off at Shea Boulevard, which is far from me. I don't ever go on the freeways. So I was there with them for about 5 years as a partner in the group, and then stayed with Realty Executives for another 12 years, for 17 years, and then made a couple other changes after that. But really, it was my dad was the reason why I came out here.
Nice. And when did you meet your beautiful wife?
So 3 years into my nightclub, my disc jockey quit in the middle of the night. And there was another club in the shopping center called Bogart's, and I called them. I said, can you guys send me over DJ? Because if I was having to DJ, I would be playing Cool in the Gang probably 100 straight times because I have no rhythm, as my wife has told me a long time ago. But I called them. They sent me this beautiful girl and she was spinning. Our club held about 1,000 people. And about 11 o'clock at night, I went up to her and said, can you do me a favor and clean up all these records? Because the records, was all over the place. And she goes, you see all these people dancing? I said, yeah. She goes, go F yourself. And now we've been married 37 years, and she's still telling me to F myself. But so I actually hired my disc jockey.
Nice.
So we dated for about 5 years, and then once we sold the club, then we got married. But the nightclub.
Nice.
So you meet people in clubs sometimes. So it was good. It's been 37 long years, 2 kids, and it's been great.
So what really got your business up and running as far as real estate goes? What do you think you can attribute the most to that you did well?
I think, first of all, everybody that goes to real estate school thinks that they're ready for the real world, and they're not. So I was very fortunate when I went to work with Mark Moskowitz, who at the time was the number one realtor in the Valley. This was like 30 years ago. So Mark was just incredible. I would go on a listing appointment with him, the most knowledgeable person, the most slickest person, but he knew how to make a presentation. Everybody knew him. And I just watched him in action. Ronnie also, Gilbert was a great mentor for me, but Mark was just, I learned from him. And when you go to real estate school, I'm not knocking it, but they teach you how to pass the test. They don't teach you the real world. And I always tell people that if you don't have a good mentor, you're going to be lost out there. And I stayed with Mark for about 5 years, which is probably longer than most people would. But I just felt like I really wasn't ready to make that move on my own. And then finally one day, he went out of town, and I go, you know what, I think I'm ready to do it. So I stayed with Realty Executives, but I kind of split from that group. But I would say the mentorship of having somebody that's far more knowledgeable, it's been doing it for a long time, because I knew the people. I mean, I knew everybody in the Valley because they all came to my nightclub, but
Right.
I did not know how to sell real estate. And I think the mentorship that he gave me, and then Ronnie Gilbert, who's still with me, he's now with me at Compass. I think that really is what took me to the next level there.
Nice. So you've been referred to in this room as a one-man army
All right,
in real estate.
right.
And so, you know, especially when I'm talking to agents, I definitely talk to them about their brand and especially being consistent of whether it's farming or it's social media and cold calling, door knocking, whatever it happens to be to stay consistent. What do you think you were the most consistent with?
I think, first of all, playing sports all my life and playing
Mhm.
college, I hate to lose at anything. And I knew once I got confidence from Mark, the
Mhm.
5 years, because I lived in North Central and I coached a lot of kids in North Central and knew a lot of people, the kids, the people who my dad's parents that knew from.
Mhm.
So I really wanted to make North Central my arena. And there was a couple really good agents that had been there for a long time, established. And I didn't. I went after them not personally, but I go, you know what? I want to take. I want a market share in North Central. I really didn't want to be. You said you're from Parker. I don't even know what
Yes.
Parker is. But I knew that I wanted be a specialist in an area that I knew everybody in. So I the first thing I did is North Central News, which is our local paper. The
Mhm.
PV has an independent. Arcadia News has a, but they just came out like in 1999, and I vowed that I was going to run a lot of ads in that paper to make it look like that was my area. And it cost me some money. I mean, I
Mhm.
probably spent $4,000 or $5,000 a month in advertising with the paper. And then the title companies always help me with postcards. But that paper kind of helped establish. And I also learned that the more signs you have up in an area, it makes you look like you're the specialist. And even on day one, if I put a house in escrow, I know people wait the 15 days or 14
Mhm.
days, whatever it may be, for inspection and get all that due diligence. I put a sold sign on day one, and people go, well, if you put a sold sign on day one, they could cancel. I go, yeah, but also if somebody's driving through that neighborhood and happens to see a sold sign, they're going to think that person is the established person in the area. So I just that really helped in addition to targeting a specific area. And
Mhm.
it's not always easy to do that. I mean, people love to be a specialist. You got some great PV agents. Robert
Mhm.
Goffey in our group is Arcadia and Chris Karras. But to be a specialist in an area, that was always my goal. And I keep advertising, keep spending. I don't stop what I'm doing. 30 years later, I'm still as driven as I was before, probably more so. And I think that's kind of helped these different groups. Like people came over with me at HomeSmart when I moved there. Now with Compass, I think we're all good friends, but we also
Mhm.
get along. We also help each other out. So I think just targeting an area really was the best thing that I ever did.
Awesome. Yeah. I will say that being an expert about an area is kind of hard to beat, really, because you already know everything about the area. So if you're holding an open house or you're doing just walking down the street and somebody
Mhm.
asks you a question, you're because you're so involved, you know a lot about that area. And then if I remember correctly, you live in the area that
I
you,
do.
so that
Absolutely.
probably helps as well.
It did, and I coached a lot of the kids because I played sports all my whole life, and unfortunately for my kids, they had to be coached by dad for a little while. But it's amazing how coaching the kids, so every once in a while, I'll get a call from a parent saying, "You let my kid play. You're a really good coach. I'm going to hire you." So it's amazing sometimes how that comes back. And I'm glad I let those kids play, even though maybe that kid may not have been very good. I always let them play, but that really being involved in the sports in an area that you're in, and
Mhm.
having the visibility and the advertising, I think all kind of went hand. And again, I really tribute from the beginning because my dad was established, and
Mm.
even though a lot of my dad's friends obviously have passed away now, but those kids remember me and knew me. So at least, that was an area that
Hmm.
my dad really kind of helped me get established from that point.
So, if I remember correctly, your son has gone into real estate.
He is. He does commercial real estate. My brother
Yes.
does development, and he's also just phenomenal what he does in commercial real estate. And I felt like since I wasn't a specialist in a particular thing in school,
Hmm.
selling real estate made the most sense. But my son is doing commercial. He's with Leveros now. He's been doing it for 8 years. And my brother really helps him more in that arena because I don't really know commercial real estate. But it's kind of neat having the same. We all have the ups and downs as this market will do, not only in commercial but also residential. But
Hmm.
my son's also driven. He played college football, and he also kind of hates to lose. I think that, but that's not something that you're given. It's
Right.
just, and so I think that really has helped him because he also takes it personal, as I do. When you lose a listing, you're pissed. I mean, and you go, I'm going to get two more. So I think, yeah, that's been a big plus. Living in the area and still having, my dad established our name.
Yeah.
Fortunately, he didn't hurt. He helped us and more than anything like that. So it's kind of neat.
You still drive down the area, and I see Bobby Lieb, Bobby Lieb, Bobby Lieb.
We try. We have bus stops now. We have two bus stops, and I actually there was a friend of my wife's, Libby Cohen, who's a top agent in the Valley. So her daughter had just graduated from Xavier, where my daughter went to school, and was starting to sell billboards and bus stops. So she asked my wife if my wife worked with a company called Raising Arizona Kids Magazine and then
Mhm.
Bumpkins. So would she be interested in advertising on a bus stop? And she goes, no, but Bobby will. And I plan on only doing it for like 2 months.
Mhm.
And now 6 years later, I've got two bus stops. I got the one on Glendale and Central. Now I got one right by the Henry. And it's kind of weird, having it, but it's just another, people go, does that help you get business? And I think it's just more visibility.
Mhm.
I know sometimes people probably shoot a middle finger at me and do stuff like that, but people see it. And I think the more you got to keep your name out there, because we're in a very, very, as you know, in a title company, you're in a very competitive business. You have to have an edge. And if you don't, your competitor will take that edge. And I'm not willing to give it up yet. So,
Well, especially after the fire hose that we just came off of
Right.
for our market, and now it feels like we're in a very balanced market.
right.
What is your perspective on it?
You mean where the market is now?
Hmm.
I think it's not talking about NAR, or what are we talking about?
No, just as our
Oh.
Phoenix market right now, it seems to be very balanced. We're not really sellers, not really
Right.
buyers. And I think that it's scary for especially a lot of newer agents that just came off of the fire hose that
Right.
we had
Right.
with, the 2021 era
Right.
and how easy it was. And now everybody's having to get back to work.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, see, I started, well, in 2010, we had the short sales and foreclosures.
Hmm.
So I was fortunate enough or unfortunate enough to deal with that, because I was dealing with a lot of banks, because where a lot of people got out of the business because of the unfortunate part back then in 2010, if you had a listing and you put a value, let's just say $1 million, and two homes right next door to you got foreclosed on, the appraisers had to use those comps,
Hmm.
and that was a screwy market. And a lot of people, I did have a couple of banks I was working with that had inventory, so I think if when you've been in that type of arena, you got to sink or swim quickly.
Hmm.
So I think going to 2000, and then when the COVID hit, that market was just on crack, and everybody. What I've learned from my agents, when I mentored with, when I first started, I always went on the real estate tours, and the agents that were very experienced always gave me help. They always were there for me, and I felt like, because I didn't know. I mean, I was always impressed. I always asked questions for these experienced agents. How did you get these? How did you become a specialist? And I think a lot of people, I don't want to say the younger generation because it makes me seem old, but they don't communicate that well. They don't ask questions. They text you back. And I think for
Right.
me, I wanted to learn from the best. Tell me how you got this area. What did you do? And I learned from them. So I failed in some arenas doing that, but I learned from them. And I always feel like, as experienced agents now for 30, I owe it to the younger agents to always help. If somebody calls me and asks me, "Hey, can you sit down with me?" They're shocked that I would sit down with them because all these agents did that for me. And I think we owe that because going back to real estate school, it doesn't teach you the real world. It's up to us as experienced people to sit down and help these agents, even though it wasn't going to help me. And I felt that really helped, especially that COVID era. Everybody thought they wouldn't return your phone call. They treated you like crap, a lot of those agents. And I remember those agents. I remember them very well that did that to me. I'm going, you know what, I'm remembering. And so I just feel like in this market now, you just got to keep doing, because there's times where you get down. Even me being as long as I've been in the business, I've already sold about 70 homes this year, but I've lost listings. When I lose a listing, even though I've won 60 or 70, I'm pissed, and it fires me up. But I think it's just a matter of you've got to just keep doing it and not give up. And it's hard. And I know the whole thing with NAR and the market being where it is. If you're a newer agent and you don't have a mentor, don't have a team, you're going to get lost out there. And I think that's my biggest fear for these newer agents is team up. I mean, I know you're giving up. Like when I was with my guys, I gave up half my income for 5 years, but I learned so much from them. And greed takes over a lot. And that would be my best advice.
It's funny. I try to explain it to especially newer agents as go somewhere, either a team with a good mentor that you trust, or like a KW situation. They're a training, brokerage. But really go do that, because think of it as your internship.
Easier said than done, though. You're right. No, I agree with you.
Because you start off making less, and then you get to the point where you don't need as much broker support, maybe. And then you're able to go to work for one of the flat fee type situations if that's what you want for your branding. But I think that a lot of agents are very confused right now, especially with the NAR settlement. And personally, I don't think much is changing other than our agents have to get better at explaining.
Yeah, I mean, our brokers are doing a great job of doing that, because it's confusing as hell. I mean, it really is. But yeah, let me go back. So when your point is so well taken, what I said earlier. Real estate school makes you feel great when you get out of there, that you're ready for the world, and you're not. You're not. You know, absolutely. I mean, I don't ever get a question on deeds. I wouldn't know how to deal with deeds, and that's the problem. They teach you how to pass the test, and that's their job. And the agents. I see agents all the time. They go on their own. I'm going, man, you're going to be lost out there because you don't know what you're doing. You're going to get in trouble. You're going to probably get in a lawsuit. So you just said it earlier, is get a mentor, give up some money the first couple of years. You really don't, like me, I don't have a degree in, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a judge. I don't have a degree in that. I got a degree. I majored in college baseball. So I felt like I needed a mentor, and I had one of the best mentors. And even today, Ronnie Gilbert, who's now 90 years old, if I call him up with questions, I know what their answer is. And I know I'm wrong doing this thing. And he'll tell me I'm wrong and not afraid. You need somebody around you, other than my wife, to tell me that, hey, you're not doing this right, or you need, and I knew, but sometimes people don't have that confidence to go to, and I think that's a huge deal.
Well, and I think that in our industry especially, you're still learning.
Always.
Even with all your experience, there's always something new that comes up. I definitely personally stay out of my escrow team's arena. I'm like, that you guys rock. You do that. But I think that we are constantly learning, and we're constantly being pushed to grow and evolve with the times. I mean, if we look back a few years, it seemed that iBuyers were going to become the norm, and that agents were going to be pushed out. But what we're seeing now is the community is looking towards agents. Okay, so what does this mean now? Right? And they want our agents to be able to explain the NAR settlement and what that means to them. I mean, when I did my interview with Jay, he basically said, the money always comes out of the transaction. It's just what side of the closing statement is it coming out of, right? Um, how do you think agents should be explaining their value when they're talking to clients?
Well, I think that goes back to being with an experienced agent that I was with. I
Mhm.
learned watching them. You just graduating from real estate school, you're not going to have that knowledge. But I think being around people that are smarter than me,
Mhm.
um, I've learned how to answer that question. And here's what I do. I spend, me personally, I spend about $6,000 a month in advertising.
Mhm.
I obviously we have title companies that help us, also,
Mhm.
but you got to spend money and to compete with all the other agents out there. You got all kind of magazines. You got the newspapers. My wife is phenomenal with social media. Matter of fact, I'll come home and instead of like, "How was your day?" Whatever. Not that she does it anyway. But hey, did you see my post on Instagram? I go, no, I don't. I don't even know how to get on it half the time, so I don't. But you just have to really have an edge in marketing yourself, but also I spend a lot of money, and people see like the local paper. They
Mhm.
see my ads. They see we do a lot of postcards through the title company. So we spend money. We send out postcards. I don't care. If I'll send out probably 2,000, 3,000 postcards a month
Mhm.
promoting different sales I have. So people will tell me, and then sometimes I'll have people call me and say, "Would you please quit sending me these cards?" Well, it's through the title company's database. I don't know how to stop it. So, but it's just continuous. So I tell people I'm spending a lot of money, but also because I've been doing this for a long time, here's the sales that I've had, Mr. and Miss Buyer or Mr. and Miss Buyer, whatever it may be. Here's the sales I've had that are comparable to yours. And they see, because I'm established, nobody's going to hire me to go in East Valley because I don't even know where the East Valley is, or certainly don't know where Parker is. As I said, I don't know how to get. But if you're a specialist in a particular area, it gives you a leg up to say, "Here's what I've done." I mean, I'm not going to. Instead of saying I can promise I can sell this, here's what I've done. Here's what I've sold over 3,000 homes in this price range. So I think that helps. But it wouldn't have happened overnight without having a mentor and having, which I'm real lucky when I came over to HomeSmart. As I mentioned to you, probably about 500 people, about a couple hundred people came over from the previous company with me to HomeSmart. So we like each other, we help each
Mhm.
other out, and you learn from your agents. I mean, you learn from your friends. Everybody's got different ways of marketing, especially the younger generation does one way, and then people will say, "You was been around for a long time. I don't know if I like the way it sounds,
Mhm.
but this is what have you done that's worked?" And really just keeping in contact with people too. And I think
Mhm.
that gives me an edge. But the only way you're going to get hired to sell houses is you have to show that you've done that before in that area. And I guess I said, nobody, if I was to try to sell an Arcadian PV, I've sold a few here and there. There's agents that have been there established for 10, 15, 20 years that have an incredible, credible marketing package like I do in North Central. It's hard to compete with them. It really is, unless you know that person that wants
Mhm.
to hire you. So it's just hard work. So I tell people when I go on appointments, here's what I've done. I've showed that I could sell this house. Your house is similar to
Mhm.
this one here, and that gives them a little confidence, the seller, that they've seen my name out there, whether it be those ugly bus stops or all the so. But that helps you when you don't really when on a level playing field. If they don't really know who you are, you have to have some kind of edge. I think that's where the marketing dollars help tell people, yeah, I'm going to ask you for this commission, but I'm going to earn it because
Mhm.
for the sellers have to understand that the money that they're going to make is coming from the buyer. And sometimes they don't really think it's, why are we paying you a commission? Well, I'm hustling, trying to get a buyer, whether through another agent or myself,
Mhm.
to buy your house, but you can't sell your house unless a buyer buys it. And that's what people don't always get that. I think if you've been in it long enough, you have a better chance of explaining that to
Mhm.
the public. And it's worked for me in this era.
Well, and they get a higher
They
price
do.
for
You're
their
right.
home
Correct.
for having agents involved.
Correct.
So it's yeah.
Well, and also it's getting an agent that's experienced in the area. I mean, I see sometimes in our area somebody will get an agent from like a Parker. I'm not making fun of Parker. But to list a house in North Central, but they don't know anybody. They're just going to put a sign there and thinking,
Mhm.
and maybe they'll get lucky, but the odds are you're not really. You really need them to spend money, and title companies are phenomenal with helping the agents. There's a great relationship that your companies has and all the title companies. We all need each other. I mean, and that's
Absolutely.
something that I've found. Doing this a long time. It's having a partner help you with the advertising or help you with the brochures and flyers. I don't have that ability to mail out 3, 4, 5,000 cards
Right.
a month.
Well, and it helps because agents do have to pay for everything.
Yes.
It helps that we can take a little bit of that off of your
Right.
plate because it's advertising for us as well.
Right.
And I mean,
It's a win-win
especially
for both of us. There's no
exactly.
doubt.
I mean, Great American, as you know, is locally owned and
Right.
operated.
Right.
And so, we definitely want our name out there in our community. So it's a great way to partner with your title company and to really get that extra boost through a geofarming and also something that people don't think about as well is come to your title company for farming list,
Right.
right? And try to think outside the box. Have you done a lot of farming in your business throughout the years?
30 years. Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, we again, with all the postcards we send out and the contact, yeah, because if I, like my assistant, you said I'm a one-man operation, but I'm not, to be honest with you, because I have an assistant that's been with me for 25 years. She's phenomenal. And actually, Kathy was the office manager at Realty Executives 25 years ago. And when I split from my partners, I asked her, I said, I know you're, because back then, there used to be a lot of people working in the offices. All the offices were full before COVID. So we had 100 agents that Kathy handled. And I asked her if would she come work with me. And 25 years later, she is absolutely phenomenal. And I didn't want a partner, but I wanted somebody like her. And obviously, I pay her well because she's phenomenal. She makes it work for me. And now I have my wife doing social media. But there's a lot of we've always been marketing with the title companies. When I was with Mark way back then, a lot of those guys would have like 10 different title companies doing, and that was too confusing. I mean, that thing. But so having a partnership with a title company, we do a lot of farming because when I list a house or if I list a house in a particular area, we're sending out postcards from the title company's list to that area, and then sometimes I'll spread out even further. But yeah, I could not survive without the title company's relationships that we have in marketing our homes, and you're silly as an agent not to take advantage of that partnership. I mean, it just
Absolutely. So now let's talk about a little bit more about where do you see our market heading with all of the changes?
I think a lot of us were nervous, especially those of us in my 60s. I was really nervous with all the changes and go, oh my God, this is going to be the end of me. And our brokers really helped explain it. I mean, I'd wake up in a cold sweat going, oh my God, it's all over. But then my assistant, Kathy, again, she's the most important part. She understood all the changes, the paperwork. So that way I could focus on what I do is list and sell and not the paperwork. So, and I know a lot of places that have transaction coordinators to help them out, TCs. You can't do everything. So fortunately, I have Kathy as my TC for me. And she does the listing. She does all the, so I don't sweat it now. I still don't know all the rules yet. So I will call my broker if I have any questions, or I'll call Kathy. But it's impossible to know. I mean, it just happened a month ago. So to say that, oh yeah, I understand all this stuff, I don't think anybody does. I think all the top agents in the Valley, whether they're teams or individual, they have transaction coordinators. I mean, you have to. You can't do it all yourself because you're going to screw up and you're going to get yourself in trouble. So I think the market's going to be great. I mean, I think the stronger survive. I do think that the people just getting out of real estate school, if they don't line up or hook up with a team, they're going to be lost because they just don't know where to turn to. So I think the people that have been doing this for a long time are going to continue doing it strongly. And if you're a new agent, then you better team up with somebody and partner up with that person. So I'm bullish on it. I'm seeing now the summer was a little bit slow, and for me, I mean, I still had a pretty good summer, but unless I'm having X amount of appointments per week, I'm pissed off. So I'm like calling people. I'm going through all these people I've met with, but all of a sudden I've seen now, and the interest rates changing didn't really help because it didn't really lower, but it made people feel good about. I did a TV interview with one of the local stations, and the comment was, "What do you look at this?" I go, "Anything's positive when you're saying positive things about our industry. I mean, even if the rates don't go down, especially with all the political commercials you see on TV, it's nice to see a positive thing about the market." So
Absolutely.
so I think, look, to me, it's going to continue. I think the people that have been around for a long time are going to continue being strong. And again, I'll go back to what I said earlier. You better be with a team, or you're going to be lost with all the paperwork changes, and have a good brokerage that you work with.
Right. I think it's also I like the fact that it does push towards more that internship type of model.
Right.
And I will give you a little bit of info. It was slowed down across the market for everybody. It wasn't just you.
Okay, good. I don't care about the other people, though. No, I know it did. But you know what? But even when people say it's slower, that competitive juice is in me going, I'm going to find a way. And I would do sleepless. I'd be, you know what I would do? When the market's slow for me, I amp up my advertising. I do more postcards. I do more flyers. So, because nobody's going to feel sorry for me being in the business as long as I have.
Right.
Other than myself, feeling sorry for myself, which doesn't get me any position. But I think if I'm not selling, I go, I call our telecom and go, let's do more postcards. Let's do more. And I just do an overkill. And I do 3 pages. So again, you got to figure some way out, because nobody is going to feel sorry for you at all. So I've learned that.
Absolutely. So going forward in this interesting time that we're in,
Right.
What do you think that agents can do to stand out and to get known outside of, depending on me and all of my wonderful postcards?
You're wonderful, yeah. I think it's simple. You got to surround yourself with good people. Again, we have a good core of people that joined me when I left. Realty Executives, came to HomeSmart now, because we all get along. We all help each other out. And it's interesting. People go, well, God, you guys all sell in the same area. We do, but what helps when you have a group that lives in the area, and again, we have 32 of us now, plus all the North & Co. people that we haven't even incorporated them in our office yet. We will call each other, and we have a group text. And I'm not a big fan of group chats, because when you do family group chats, like, okay, I'm going to the bathroom, I really don't care. But with the group chats with real estate, we'll tell people in our group, hey guys, I'm getting ready to get a listing. Here's my listing, or do you know anybody in this group? So believe it or not, your peers that you work with are also your best allies and assets, because you may not know, unfortunately, you got beat out for listing for whatever reason, but you may have a buyer for that. So when you're communicating with each other before it goes on the market, we sometimes will sell it. We have a private listing category at Compass, which is great, but even our own group, we'll know about homes that are getting ready to go on the market. Or guys, we'll even as an agent, I'll say to our group, hey, here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for boom, boom, boom. This is the square footage, a big house or condo, $2 million. So you'd be surprised in a group of 30, they know of somebody. So we're doing internally, we're helping each other out in our group.
I think it's always great to network with other
Phenomenal.
agents.
Phenomenal.
You never know who's going to end up on the other side of an offer you're writing.
Right.
And if you have a great relationship with that agent, it's not favoritism for them to understand that they're going to enjoy working with you. So if you have a good reputation in our industry, agents are going to want to work with you.
I agree. And you know what? It's so easy to verbalize with other agents, to pick up the phone and call. Unfortunately, There are some agents that don't like to talk on the phone, don't return your phone calls, which to me is the biggest mistake. If somebody calls me to show a house of mine, they're shocked that I answer my phone or call them back right away. And I go, why wouldn't I? They go, we've called 4 other people and none of them responded. I go, well, I guess then you have to buy my house.
Right.
But the other thing with agents, you can also communicate with them a little bit, saying, hey, here's what my client can afford, or so try to work it out with the other agents. Obviously, there's nothing illegal about doing that, but you'd be surprised how your own agents in your own company or in our like our North Central group really can be a good a link for you. That they everybody knows somebody that they know of a house getting ready to sell, because especially if they live in the area, their kids go to school in the area. They know things happening before it happens, and those are the people that I associate with in our group, and we help each other out. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. We're not fighting each other, and I just find that getting along with your peers goes a long way.
Absolutely. And one of the things you mentioned in your story was that you were coaching the kids, and sometimes you'd get clients from that, right? It's leaning into your sphere of influence. Which is exactly how you built up. And it's funny because the things that your title reps will tell you that works, the things that Tom Ferry says that work, are the things that actually work.
Right. And simple things.
Right.
You don't have to spend, networking is huge. I mean, coaching the kids, giving back to the community. I know a lot of people are involved in charities and things of that nature. And you don't necessarily are doing it because you're going to benefit from it, but you do indirectly sometimes benefit because people see that you do care, that you are involved. I mean, coaching the kids, I did it for one reason, because I wanted my kids to be coached by me. I mean, because I felt that, and I enjoyed it. I mean, because my dad was not there coaching me. I mean, my dad came to one game my whole baseball career. My last game of the year, we were in the NAIA World Series. He came to my World Series game, and I'm looking in the stands, and it was weird because I have never seen my dad. My mom was always at my games, so I just vowed that I was always going to be there. But being involved, but the parents know you give up your time to coach, or you give up your time, and the parents appreciate that down the road. They go, you know what, Bobby worked with my kid, and I appreciate that. So I didn't do it that time to get rewarded, but you'd be surprised.
You were doing something you enjoy.
I enjoy it, yes.
And
my kids didn't enjoy dad coaching, but I enjoyed it.
That'd be a whole nother podcast.
It would be, yeah. My daughter, actually, I came back to coach her one year at our school, and after she was done, and our coach at the school at All Saints said, hey, Bobby, can you take over girls softball for 1 year, because I don't have the time, and plus I'm sick. I said, yeah, I'll do it. So I went up to my daughter, who was 10 at the time. I go, Julian, guess who's coaching softball at the school? And she goes, who, Dad? Me. And even my daughter gave me the F-bomb. Like my wife gave me. She goes, oh my God. So it's not easy for kids to have their parents coaching, but I loved it. But again, the interaction with all the other dads and being involved in the kids, it just, I'm glad I did it.
I think that when you lean into something you enjoy doing anyway, you're going to do it well.
Right.
And that's going to leave a positive impression. And so I'm always talking to my agents, what are your hobbies? And I'm finding in this social media era, really, a lot of people don't have very many hobbies anymore. So, I think trying to find opportunities to connect with people in person is helpful.
But you got to remember, you're an outgoing person. I think is a pretty fair comment to make. Not everybody has that in them. If you're shy, being shy as a realtor is not probably a good trait to have. So, you can be humble, but you need to be outgoing, because people want. You're trying to sell yourself, because when you go on a listing appointment and there's 4 people you're competing with, you've got to have some kind of edge, whether it be the experience you have, or maybe look up who that client you're meeting with. Maybe you may know somebody they know, and then you can find some common ground with them. Don't just go in there cold turkey. And I'll do that a lot of times. I'll go, social media can be great, because you can find out who knows who, even whether it be on Facebook or Instagram. If I do know how to get on those every once in a while. But you may see somebody that they know going, I know that person. I'm going to call that person and say, will you help me with my listing? So do some background on it, but you've got to be, you can't be introverted and really in this industry. And I don't think you and I will ever be accused of that in this. Is that a fair comment to make?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that some of the strongest agents I know will be sitting getting their oil changed, hear somebody talk about buying or selling a house,
Right.
and involve themselves in the conversation. 100%.
Without doubt, yeah, yep.
And so, yeah, you do have to. Here's the thing. When I sent you the message and I asked to interview you, the worst thing you could have said was no. So it's always worth the risk, in my opinion.
But how could I say? I mean, but I'm honored that somebody wanted me to speak. And I mean it. I mean, I'm. You want to be wanted. So
absolutely.
How could I? First, now and that I met you, I couldn't say no. But no, I'm honored when somebody wants me to be on a panel or wants me involved in there. So that means you're still relevant, I guess.
Absolutely.
When they stop calling you, you're done. So that hasn't happened yet. So it's good.
Well, I think that while you've joked about dating yourself and everything else, you still have a very healthy career that's continuing to grow, and you're continuing to give back by mentoring. Right. So I think we're stuck with you for quite a while.
I hope so.
I think at some point you might become the Russell Shaw,
I don't know about that. I mean, I've known Russell I don't have a silver tongue like him, so I don't think I could. Now, Russell's phenomenal. I mean, I had him speak at my meetings before. A different way of expressing himself.
Yes.
But he's a unique, and we need people like him. I mean, it's such a breath of fresh air to where he stands. There's no bullshit with him. I don't know if I can say it over there, but anyway. But there's no. He tells it like it is, and you gotta love it. I mean, it's not for everybody, but I enjoy. I haven't talked to him in a long time. He also started off in the club business, and he worked. I remember he was with KTR Radio for a long time, and he was involved with the OJ trial. So, which he'll tell you that was a good deal for him on helping him sell homes.
We actually had him as a speaker just recently at our great event. It was our first annual, so
you're brave.
I know. It was. Here's the thing. How do you talk Arizona real estate and not have him come on in?
Right.
And but I lean more to the fact that he's been applying for a job for a very long time. And he's still relevant in our industry today. Not so much the polarizing parts.
Right. I agree.
So I think that you're very similar in the way that you've created something that's unique to you. And so you're still going to be relevant because those things still work.
Well, and a lot of that's hard work. But you look at somebody, Russell has a different way. It's not maybe for everybody. But he is the most knowledgeable person I've ever met about this industry. And you can learn from people like that. Even, in my 60s, I still learn from him. I haven't had lunch with him a long time. But he's a good human being, different. But he knows what he's doing. He's sharp, and he's got his own. He created that unique deal. I mean, he was probably one of the first guys to advertise on TV. So you got to give him credit. He advertised on radio, KTR, for a long time. So it's not my style, but for him it worked, and we owe it to those guys. They were trailblazers. I mean, before Greg Hague started doing his thing, and some of the other guys, I'll buy your house. I mean, Russell was the first guy that I can think of that was on TV, so it was pretty smart of him.
Yeah, absolutely.
He'll tell you that too.
Absolutely. I think that you have to do what works, and advertising does work.
Right.
We know that.
Right.
Now, when I have a conversation with an agent, I'm like, you need to plan for 12 to 18 months. Right. Can it happen sooner? Absolutely. But it's staying consistent that actually wins the race, so to speak. You
know what your key word there? Consistent. If you're going to do 12 or 18 months, you can't do every other month or every 3 months. That's what people don't understand. You have to be consistent. And that's something I've never, even when the market sucked, even when we had the 2010 short sales foreclosures and all the stuff going on that people were getting twice for their houses during COVID, and it's you got to just keep doing stuff. You got to keep but you can't do it every other month, or I don't have the money this month. you've got to figure out a budget. And that's one of the things when I teach a real estate class, I'll go, guys, you've got to budget yourself X amount of dollars consistently over a year. I mean, if you can't do it for 12 months, then you better be with a team that's going to help you, because you're going to be lost out there with all the agents like me who are advertising every month, every week, every day. And that's,
right. And, leaning into your team, right? Your title, your lender partners, your home warranty partners, everybody can help get you there.
And they want to.
Absolutely. But I think that newer agents aren't aware, and we have to kind of expose them to the fact that, we can help. Right.
That's why they should be with a team.
Absolutely.
And not be on their own, because you just said it. They think they can do it on their own. That's ego taking over. You can't do this on your own if you want to stay in a long time.
Well, and I think a lot of agents that are on a team, maybe their team lead has a relationship with a certain title company.
Right.
A lot of times they don't understand that they don't necessarily have to have that same relationship if they can get more value from another title company.
Right. Good plug for you.
Yes.
You're real subtle how you kind of, a Parker girl kind of threw that in there under the, I like that.
Yeah.
That was very,
But no, it is true.
I agree.
But
But only comment I have there, sometimes the teams do put pressure on you, because the team member that runs the company, he or she can make money off. So, it's just, I don't know. I agree with you. You're not locked in. You shouldn't be locked in, but sometimes you don't, especially if you're newer on that team, you kind of have to follow the team leader. But then after you've gotten your confidence, and especially if the team leader realizes that you're making him or her money, they'll let you deviate from that.
Yeah, they'll kind of let you. But there are brokerages that have relationships with particular title companies, and that may not serve their agents fully.
Agreed.
They may not be able to offer the same level of services as other companies. So you've obviously worked with plenty of companies out there. What are the top things you think that title can do for agents like yourself and other agents in the industry?
For me, the most important is treat your clients with respect at closing, because I've had issues before where sometimes, as a title officer, just be in communication, because there's so many from beginning to end, and I hate paperwork. So, but I watch the different title companies that if I'm representing, because I'm mostly a listing agent, but I'm watching the communication the title company has with my assistant Kathy, with the buyers and sellers. So just keeping them in contact with them and letting them know, so we have a smooth sailing. If there's any issues with title, let us know in advance. And the good title companies like your company will do that. Just don't get caught all of a sudden you're 2 days before closing. And I do a lot of divorce work. Never been divorced, but I do a lot of divorce work with the courts. And we had an issue with the proceeds being held by the title company. Fortunately, the title company that we're dealing with, that was not chosen by me, but by the buyer, end up said we'll hold the money. Not everybody wants to hold the money, but that could have killed the deal 2 days before closing, saying, "I'm sorry, I'm not going to hold your $600,000 in proceeds. We're not allowed to do that." So I think the title company needs to communicate, which a lot of them are phenomenal doing that. And then again, going back, the most important thing before you get a sale is the marketing. The marketing that title companies bring to the table, having done this for 30-something years, it's invaluable. You just said, you pull the area, you pull the grid. It's, our title companies that we work with will send us information, what's going on in a particular area. They'll give us almost like the Tina Tambor report sometimes. So I think it's just,
Cromford, Altos.
Yeah, everybody's the same. Yeah. But really, I think the communication with title is so important, because we're relying on the title company to make sure everything's done in a timely fashion. And now we have, people signing at their houses now, not necessarily at the title company. That's changed a lot, which I'm sure it's a pain for you guys. People aren't coming actually to you. But, that's just one of the avenues there.
So do you still go to your signings when they are at the title company?
I've never gone.
You've never gone?
Never gone.
Really?
Yeah.
why is that?
Um, I just think the title companies that I've worked with, I've confident that it's going to get done.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't want to say it because I'm too busy, but maybe part of that is I am busy. But I want my assistant Kathy. I better not that I'm being lazy here, but she's been in contact with the title companies that we know everything's going to be smooth. If there's any
Right.
hiccups, I'll be on the phone with the title company. I don't think me being there, because I don't even know. You guys have like 10,000 papers that we have to look. I look at this going, holy crap! I mean, but I don't know all these papers, so I'm
Right.
going to be there holding somebody's hand, but I don't even know what's going on there either. So I think the title company has made it so easy to make it smooth because they've been in communication with my assistant Kathy, who's been in So I know by the time our clients go to sign through my assistant Kathy, everything's going to be fine there. There shouldn't be any hiccups at all. Does that help me out a little bit?
Yes.
But you know what? And I know some people do that, but you can't. And I hate to say this, you can't be that busy if you can go on all your closing. Because
That's true.
I'm closing 70 to 75 homes a year. You can't be at all the meetings. But
No.
I will tell you that that's why I have a great assistant that's in contact with title that we know. And there's going to be hiccups. I mean, there's
Right.
going to be, it's in a wrong name or it's in a trust but I don't really get involved as much as my assistant does. And she kind of helps smooth that out for me so that I can focus on the next deal.
Sounds like you are a very lucky man to
I am
have
very lucky.
two very
I-
strong women in your
they're-
lives.
and very strong. And they kind of pit against me many times. But no, I mean, I think anybody that's successful in this industry has people around them that are as good, if not better, that makes their life easier. And I think that's whether it be a spouse or whether it be a worker. Yeah, there's no question I could. And people even say, can I ever utilize Kathy? I go, no. I mean, she's, we're doing all these deals but you want to have somebody like her, but you also have to pay for them. I mean, I know
Right.
people sometimes they keep going through assistants but a lot of these companies now are offering TCs, and I think that's phenomenal because you just don't have, the paperwork is so brutal and so time consuming, and I think that's also a big key that they're all making it a little bit easier for us as far as that goes.
Yeah. From the title perspective, we like it when the paperwork's done well.
I'm sure you do. Yeah. And you're dealing with competent people. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And more importantly, you want to make sure that whoever you're dealing with, like my assistant Kathy, you call her. If she doesn't answer the phone, she's going to call you in 10 minutes.
Right.
And no excuses. I mean, she wants to get this thing closed because she gets also paid but you just need that communication. And that's probably my worst pet peeve is people do not return phone calls. Whether it be showing a house. I mean, I'm trying to show your house, and you're not going to call me back. Why aren't you going to call me back? I mean, I may accidentally call you like 4 times in 10 minutes because I may piss you off, but I'm calling you because I want you to call me
Right.
back.
I was actually locked out of a listing one day because they didn't put the code in MLS.
The CBS code. Oh, I hate that.
And so I'm trying to call them.
Right.
They knew I was showing the property,
Right.
and it's hot, and we're standing outside because I used to practice and don't anymore. But and we're standing outside, and I'm like, this is horrible.
Yeah.
This is absolutely horrible.
Or if I don't have my glasses with me to read the CBS code. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of CBS codes. I respect that agents do that, but it just, it complicates it, especially if they don't tell you.
Right.
And they'll say, well, we sent it to you on the internet. We told you, well, why didn't you call me? I mean, but some of them just don't like to talk. I mean, to me, if I'm going to give somebody an extra step, I may call them and say, I don't know if you saw this
Right.
on the site there, but there is a CBS
I
code.
mean, for our younger agents, they could also text that.
Yes,
I
they
mean,
could.
I'm good with that
Because
too.
they don't want to call, they don't want to talk to us. At least text me. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's comical. I tell all of my agents when they decide they're going to work with me, I'm like, I do answer my phone.
Right.
If I don't, I will call you back as soon as I'm out of my
What a
meeting.
novel idea. Yeah, I know.
So you guys can get a hold of me
Right.
because I do understand that sometimes things come up. I had an agent get a last minute listing right before she was leaving town, and she called me on a Friday, and she was like, any chance I could get my listing presentation? And I was like, give me 5 minutes
Well,
to find out.
right.
Because I'm not going to promise something I can't do.
Right.
I knew I could get her the property profile, but her custom branded CMA, I was like, I don't know. Send it to me and I
Right.
will let you know. And we were able to make it work. But, most of the time it's better if I have warning.
Right, that is true. Yeah.
It's comical to sometimes have to remind agents, yeah, we're closed on weekends.
Right.
Like nobody's in the print department.
Although
and
we
they're not
aren't,
going
we
to let
aren't.
me have
No,
it.
no, no. I get that. Yeah.
They're not going to let me have access to the big printer. They'd be afraid I'd break it.
Right.
But so at this point, you're just kind of doing what you've always done. You're actually at Compass now, enjoying it there. You're a partner, as you've said, an associate broker. And what is Compass doing now? Are they continuing to grow in Arizona?
Well, again, I think they're done for right now because they bought. We merged with them, and then because we never really had all the technology from Compass until recently. Within about 2 or 3 months, we will. Even though we were launched powered by Compass,
Right.
For the last year and a half, now we're officially Compass. So we eventually we'll start getting their technology, which should be happening in the first quarter of the year. So I think that there's still going to be agents that because we're still, I say still launched, but we are Compass. But there's still agents that our management want to get. They've been after for them for. I think now we're starting to get agents to join us. I mean, the North and Co was a big merger because they were a very competitive company with us, and they really fit in very smoothly with our group. So I think we got almost 200 agents, which is we almost got like 70% of their agents that came over. So a lot of times agents don't do that. They go where they feel comfortable with the fit. So I think that was a big move there. But certainly, if it's a top agent wants to come in to our group, they'll find a way to accommodate them, depending on what part of town they're in.
So, what makes Compass different? What brought you onto the team with Compass?
Well, originally it was launch.
Right.
So I did not know we were going to be Compass. So with me, it was launch. I had talked to them like 4 or 5 years ago, and I really wasn't ready to make a move. And then I was having some issues at the company I was at, and I contacted them and said, okay, maybe I'm interested in talking to you now. And I think I want to hear what you have to say. And they said, well, number one, because I was just an agent at HomeSmart, I was just an agent at Realty Executives, but when they tell you you can be a partner now and own an office, that was intriguing. And so I go, okay, I committed to doing that, but I said, I don't know if I'm going to get other agents there to come over. Well, in a short period of time, we got, now 30 people have come over. So it's pretty cool that we all get along with each other. So I think just the strength that Compass is going to bring, we have a strong presence throughout the country. I mean, it's one of the largest luxury brands in the country. I think there's over 60,000 agents. And what's cool is the referral business. So I've already gotten 2 referrals in from we've contacted other Compass agents in other cities. And because of that network, we've gotten referral in New York. I've gotten a referral in Atlanta. And I also got a referral from another Compass agent all the way in Flagstaff. That's no, all the way Flagstaff, almost Forest Parker. But what's cool about it is you have your own core of agents that somebody knows somebody in our company in another city, and referral business is huge. So
absolutely,
we're all utilizing that, and then they're going to start having meetings. They send you stuff every couple of months, but they're also going to have end of the year parties where you learn networking with each other. So it's a very strong company that, again, with that core of 60,000 agents. And again, I don't specialize just in luxury. I mean, I sell all kind of stuff, but the luxury. But even we used to think of $1 million as luxury, It's not anymore, but to me, it's still luxury.
Unfortunately.
It's still luxury. But I think that the strength of our company, because it's nationwide, people respect it, and there's a lot more credibility that we can say when we go on listing appointments that we're not just a local person. We can advertise your brand, your house all over the country.
Right.
That we can send it to New York. We can because right now, even $1 million homes are put on the Compass site. Obviously, the 3 million makes more of the luxury, but our product now is being sent all over the country. So if people are sitting in Michigan or they're sitting in New York, whatever, they can, and they happen to have, oh my God, I'm been looking for an agent to work with in Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
That's the brand, that's the strength that they can bring to the table. I see you're probably going to start seeing a lot more mergers like the North & Co. coming to us, us being absorbed by Launch, because it's just hard for the small mom and pops to survive now. And I think bigger is better with the industry because of the cost, because of the changes, and people want to. I mean, the smaller brokerages, I think, are going to start getting gobbled up. I'm just my prediction, because I just think it's.
I think they have been.
Well, they have been, yeah. Then they could continue more, yeah. There's still a few out there.
Yeah.
But you're right, because
But it's also harder with the NAR settlement.
Correct. Some
for
paid fine and stuff, right?
Right. Like smaller brokerages are dealing with, they can't hold other brokerages open houses anymore.
Right.
With this new settlement.
Right.
And so it's definitely affecting them.
Right.
And I think it'll be sad if we lose the boutique brokerages, because there is a place for them as well.
I totally agree. Totally agree. And I've been with two. I mean, my first two companies were national companies. Realty Executives, which started here in town, that expanded. HomeSmart, which started in this town, expanded. So it's kind of nice to be, even though we're Compass, we are kind of. I still look at ourselves as Launch, but we are still, the local company that started here. And I just think, you're right. The small companies, it's going to be harder and harder. And not only that, it's just for advertising. I mean, you look at the bigger companies can sometimes give you help in marketing dollars somehow, that the other companies can't do. But also it's knowledge. I mean, when you have, like, it's tremendous. Now we got the North & Co. brokers that came over. So we've got more brokers to help us, and knowledgeable brokers, not just brokers who somebody just got their license. These are people that save your butts from getting in trouble, and they answer. Because one thing I love, I'm always calling our brokers, because I don't want to get in trouble. I'm always feel like if I don't call, and they always answer the phone and tell you the correct answer, and that's what you need. You need broker support. And if you're with one company only has one broker, and there's 100, 200 agents, you may not get the response right away you need. So it's
So what advice do you have to, I mean, we know to join a team, obviously, but what advice do you have to the agents out there that are still growing and still looking to create the career that you've had?
I would say network with your peers that have been experienced, because I said it when I first started the podcast with you. I, as a new agent, was in the nightclub business for 15 years. I knew nothing about real estate, but I was not afraid to, back then it was kind of interesting. The newer agents don't realize this, but back then we used to ride in cars with other agents and interact with each other. Now we don't see that going on a lot, but I loved it being in cars with other agents, because they were locked in. They were forced to answer my questions if I had them. There wasn't the phones there or anything like that. So I think being around other agents that can help you learn and that aren't afraid to give you the right or wrong answers. Going back, I said the real estate school is great because it got you your license, but it doesn't teach you the real world. The real world are the people who are experiencing, people like me that have been doing it for a long time. We've had the highs and lows. We've been in trouble before. We've made mistakes. We learn from our mistakes, but we're not afraid to call our broker. But you've got to be around people that are smarter than you, that have done this a lot longer than I have, and you've got to know that they have the knowledge. And there's a reason to be in this business for 25, 30 years, whether it be in title, whether you be in real estate sales. You have to have done something right, because you don't get lucky being successful in that long. So, but don't be afraid to call your broker. Don't be afraid to ask other agents. I love it, as I said earlier, when people come up to me and still think I'm relevant and will ask me questions. That means they trust my judgment, and I'm not afraid to go to these other agents that, hey, tell me, how to give me a little idea on that area, especially if it's an area that I'm not familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, North Central I am, but just don't be afraid to ask questions or call your peers.
Honestly, that's kind of the point of my entire podcast. It is. It's really about bringing people from across the valley in here,
Right.
getting different perspectives, getting different advice, because I can tell agents time and time again that farming works, or that that they have to stay consistent. But when they hear it from somebody that has the career like yourself, it's a little bit more impactful. And also, I think that it's something to strive for, right? Who's going to be the next Bobby Lieb?
Right.
Who's gonna try and take over Bobby's territory?
There's a lot trying. Please don't give me a few more years at it. But you know what? And I think too, you've got to realize that the other agents that are selling in your area, they're actually a source of knowledge.
Absolutely.
And too many agents, their egos don't let them communicate with you. I love it. I mean, even our agents in our group, they'll tell you to, F off, or they'll tell you you're an idiot. But in kidding, but there's a camaraderie there. We're also, hey, I have a question. I have a problem here. What do you think? And if I can answer it, if it's a simple, I'll say yes. If I think it's the broker should answer it, I'll tell them. But we all help each other out. We're not afraid to ask each other, even though we're competing sometimes the same offer, but we help each other out. And that's something you don't see a lot of. And I think that, to me, is the biggest asset and ally that I have, is we have our own strong agents in our own group, not only in the North, in our Compass group. I got to remember what company with Compass group, but also with our North Central group. Learn from them, and they know it. I mean, they've we all ask questions, but if you don't ask questions, you don't have the right answers, and that's when you get yourself in trouble. I think so.
So, what inspires you the most in your business life?
I would say knowing that I can hopefully help somebody with their house. It's I guess the competition of being first of all inspires that people still want me. I mean, you would think, okay, I've done this for a long time, but there's more and more agents. I mean, there's a lot of agents that their kids are going to school. So like when my kids went to a particular school, I was a star realtor at that school. But as soon as my kid graduated, another star realtor came in. So just know that I think the inspiring part is people still call me and still think I'm relative. I mean, when they stop calling you and you start losing a lot of listings that you should have gotten, you thought, that kills me, because I don't like to lose. But I'm still getting my fair share, and I think that's being wanted and still people calling you.
So what's your 10-year plan then?
I'm 68 now, so I don't know. My 10-year plan, how about 5 years at a time, we'll say.
Okay. I'll give it to you.
I think I still hope I'm relative. I still hope that people will call me. I mean, I see my buddy Ronnie, even when he was in his 70s, he was still relative. He was still, people wanted him, and I'm hoping people will still call me, even if when I get in my 70s. And I hope I still have the same drive that I had when I was in my 40s, 50s, and I think I will. I just hope I can people feel I'm still knowledgeable and know the market. I'm still going to get my share, because I do know a lot of these people, but there's new people coming in that everybody knows somebody. Again, they're either related or their family, and you can't beat the family connection there. So I think from a 5-year plan, I'm hoping I'll still be doing what I'm doing now and still, be up there in the sales.
Well, maybe next year you'll be at the great event speaking as a panelist or a featured speaker. I'm just
If you
saying.
feed me, I'll be there. So I don't.
Now that I can do.
For free food, I will be glad to do that. I've done that numerous times there.
Yeah, I think it's always great to hear from people in our industry.
Right.
I think it's also an opportunity in a scenario like this where we kind of get to explain, because we talk shop
Right.
with other agents, with other reps, like, and sometimes we lose focus of the community around
Right.
us doesn't understand when we're
Right.
talking shop. And I think this is a good way to show, agents have a stressful job
Right.
and they have to worry about, where's their next deal coming
Right.
from? Are they doing enough for their clients? Are they, marketing their clients well enough? When I know for me personally, when my agents have things that are sitting, that's when they're the most stressed,
Right.
when something's not selling. So do you have any advice on when an agent has something that's not moving and they're starting to stress about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think one is you can't hide from your client. You need to communicate with them. The worst thing you could do is crawl into a shell and say, I'm not getting any showings, so I'm not going to call them. And then that gets their angst with you. So I as much as it's hard sometimes going, hey, I'm doing everything I possibly can. Pick up the phone and call them. I mean, some people hide behind emails and texts.
Mm-hmm.
I pick up the phone, and not all the time, but as much as I possibly can, and calling them, saying, "Here's what we're doing." Really, what helps is my wife doing social media. We're saying, "Hey, we're posting it. We're doing all this stuff."
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, sometimes you have to tell your clients the price has to come down. I mean, that's not easy, but when you list a house, sometimes you have to list it higher if you want to get the listing for a couple of reasons. One, because your client wants you to be there. And number two, is your competitors telling them it's at that number.
Mm-hmm.
I want that listing, and then knowing that if I'm doing everything I said I was going to do, and that's the thing is you have to communicate with your clients and tell them, hey, here's what I'm doing. Like, hey, we're doing open houses, we're advertising. We're getting ready to send out postcards to promote your house. They want to hear from you. They don't want to, they go, well, God, I hired Bobby 4 months ago and I haven't heard from him. That'll never happen with my assistant or myself or my wife because we're all engaging with them. But they have to know at some point the price is high. And I think initially when we list a house, we have a real estate tour. The tour sometimes is sponsored by title companies and different companies, but that also kind of sets the precedent, saying, okay, we listed our house for $1.5 million,
Mm-hmm.
but the group feels the house probably should be around $1.2 million, $1.25 million, and the clients know it. I mean, they know it. I know it. So, but initially, I just keep trying to get the price down where it gets to be where it's competitive, because if people aren't showing your house, it's not always the price. It could be the condition of the house. It could be the area. But you've got to communicate with your clients, and it's not easy. I mean, they're pissed sometimes because their lives are on hold. I mean, they may have a house they're trying to buy. It's contingent that they can't move until they sell it. So I mean, there's a lot of pressure that us agents weigh because people are waiting for us. They think we're miracle workers sometimes, like the house next door to them sold quickly. Why isn't my house selling quickly? And there's various reasons why. Of course, it's not me. No, of course, sometimes. But I think the communication goes a long way. And kind of what you and I said in the very beginning, you're a communicator, I'm a communicator. Hiding behind a tree and going, I'm embarrassed because I mean, they hire you for a reason. And then when you sell their house, all of a sudden you did a great job. Guess what? They're going to put it on social media. They're going to say, what a great job he or she did, because that's what everybody does now. They're singing the praises.
And if they're not, you need to ask them to.
Well, we do. Oh, we do. Yeah, trust me, we do.
Because I think that's something that agents forget about is like their reviews mean something.
Yeah, They can, and it's funny because I mentioned earlier, I do probably 15 to 20 divorces a year where the courts hire me as a special commissioner. And you have one spouse that loves you, one that hates your guts. And they hate you because they're being forced to sell their house because of the divorce. I'm hired by the court to do that. And I've had the negativity of the divorces of some of the people that they were upset because the court hired me to sell their house. They would say, Bobby forced me to sell my house. I didn't want to sell it. And unfortunately, the social media site doesn't give you a chance to respond. So you've got that negative sometimes sitting there going, God, Bobby kicked me out of my house with my 2 kids. He's really an ass. It's like, guys, I did what the judge asked me to do. But unfortunately, the social media site doesn't see that. So your point is well taken. You're going to get some negative stuff. And who knows, it could be a competitive jealousy realtor that may have done it. But you've got to have 10 good people, 20 to make up for that one. And otherwise, you get that negative there. So it drags.
I tell agents when they send out their just sold postcard, get your review.
Right.
Let's put it on that card.
Right.
Because here's the thing. People are not only going to recognize the house if they're neighbors, right? Who's we're likely sending this mailer to.
Right.
But also they know the person that lived there.
Right.
So it gives it more strength.
Right.
And you're more likely to get a call. So
you can't be shy in this business.
No.
and there's too many of us doing what we're doing. But and again, you said it for advice, and I hope I can continue. I'm honest with people. I try to be, but the advertising really you've got to have an edge. And there's a lot of people that are much smarter than me with social media, with the just the whole networking of technology. I'm not a technology person. I'm very proud to say I am AOL. I don't know how many people are out there AOL. Probably not many of us are AOL. That right there tells you that you don't want to ask me any technology because I'm AOL. But you know what? It's kind of a joke, and people go ding, ding, ding. I go, I know the AOL ding, ding. But it's just you've got to keep amping up advertising and keeping your name out there. And I think we're going to start losing people. I mean, I know we already are. I've talked to my old company, and it's just because they're the stronger to survive in this industry. Right. I mean, whether it be the title companies, whether it be the agents, if you're sitting back waiting for action to happen, it's not going to happen. You've got to create it, and that's why it's a great partnership with title companies and realtors. We need you. You guys need us, and if you just can't sit back and feel sorry for yourself because nobody's going to feel sorry for you.
Absolutely. One of the funniest things that I've had happen is when I presented to BNI, right? Because Business Networking International.
Okay.
And I explained in my presentation that the buyer normally chooses title.
Right.
And nobody quite had it click until I was like, you choose the title company.
Right.
Your agent advises you, but you choose the title company. But we need agents to advise them because they don't understand that they choose the title company. Right. So I found it comical, but and kind of cute. And I was like, now I understand why we work in such great partnerships with agents.
Well, and some agents will go, we really don't have a title company. Who to use? And I go, great. That way, because if it's your title company, he or she are going to always return your phone calls when you call.
Absolutely.
And that, going back to what we said before, even if it's on weekends, I know you guys don't always work on weekends, but you do. You work 7 days a week, kind of like us. And the communication is so important. And the more you have control of your deal, because there's been some horrific, just like as horrific agents, there's been some horrific title companies that kind of favor the other agent because he or she has been working with forever and don't always return your phone call. And guys, I need to be neutral. I mean, I understand that you have a relationship with that agent, but if we're calling you, we're calling you for a reason. Why don't we have where's we have the earnest check yet, or do we have the paperwork? And it's amazing, but I don't see that as much anymore because there's so many good title companies.
I think it has a lot to do with also we realize as a team, myself with my escrow officers, that when there's an agent on the other side, that's a golden opportunity to show them what we can do for them, because obviously we want to bring in as many agents as possible to work with us because we think we're the best.
Right.
And, the fact that you can give back through the GAT cares and everything else is just added.
Right. Those days of the title companies giving cruise ships and planes, flights, then they ruined the fun. No, I never did that, but I know that was out there for some of them. But yeah, we all made a mistake. But yeah, it's a different world.
And there's always things that we're going to learn in this industry, and things are going to change.
Right.
And, I think that having a good relationship with title is important.
It's huge.
I mean, I know that personally, I like being an added value to my agents. Right. They can get a hold of their escrow officer all the time, but there's times where they're like, "Hey," and I'm like, "I'll check.
Right.
Just give me a sec."
Right.
But, it's having that team mentality. And they also know that their team is going to take care of their clients. Right. So I've had agents refer deals that they didn't have anything to do with to us because they wanted to make sure their team was taking care of it.
Well, and you also want the deal to close. I mean, you want to deal with a title company just like you want to deal with an agent that follows through. And if there are any issues, there's going to be bumps, as I said earlier, but we find a way to resolve them. You find why is there a problem here? Do I need legal to maybe look into it if this is? And you know what? It's just you by having the right people on the other side, you can work out usually the problems and kind of find a happy solution there.
So now we're going to get into your 5-year plan personally.
Okay.
With your beautiful wife and lovely children that are now grown.
All right.
What is your 5-year plan for yourself personally?
My plan or my wife's plan?
Well,
because my plan doesn't matter. My plan doesn't matter. No,
so it's her plan.
It's her plan. It's your
plan.
Wait, it's her. I think traveling. And I really haven't done that a lot. I mean, I just got back from Atlanta for my high school reunion, which was kind of cool. But we probably need to travel more as we get older, and I haven't done that. So I think enjoying life a little bit better. But I've always felt like if I travel, am I going to lose a deal? And I guess that's my competitive deal. But because there's phones and so I've got to let go of that and make sure I stay married. So I think the traveling is probably, I'm not going to change what I do in real estate. And again, being a partner in a company, there's a lot of respect we have for each other. But I think personally, it's getting out of town and taking a break, which I haven't done a lot of.
So are you going to tell her where you're taking her? Since I've got you now, you're on the record.
So after 37 years, she's going to tell me where she wants to go. So it doesn't, I'm not going to have a say, as I never do. So that's a fair comment to make. I mean, I'm just being honest. I'm going to have to do where I'm told to do.
Honestly, when I ask my other half to plan our trip, he calls the travel agent, because that way, if for some reason we are disappointed, we're both mad at the travel agent as opposed to each other. So
that makes sense.
So that's my little bit of relationship advice.
Right. Totally get it.
If you're ever forced to plan, call a travel agent.
Yeah, I think but I think definitely we need, because my brother travels all. He spends 2 months out of the year in Newport. He's got a house on the beach he rents. So I can't go that long. He does commercials, so he can get away with it. But I somehow is in the stars that we have to travel and enjoy life a little bit better.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you've worked hard.
I know.
Play hard too.
Right.
I mean, isn't that the whole balance in life?
You must have been talking to my wife. Yes, it is. It is. Yeah. No, it without doubt. That's our goal, her goal, and obviously my goal to make her happy that we do get out of town and enjoy what's out there.
Well, I think that's a wonderful plan, but I'm a big fan of travel, so there's that,
Sure.
Especially like July and August.
Right.
I'm fine being gone.
But you know what? It's funny because I knew everybody leaves in July and August. I felt staying here would give me an edge. And this summer was slow. I mean, it was good, but it is, especially when it's 118 or 115 for 100 straight days. And I'm out there playing golf in 115-degree weather, which is not the smartest thing to do. It's not comfortable.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. Summertime is a good time to get out.
You can go play golf now. It's okay to do it now.
I know it's safe. Yeah, I know. It's too cold now. No. But now the problem is all the courses are closed because they're reseeding. So
That's
it's even more crowded right now because half the courses are closed for another couple of weeks. So.
But grass doesn't take that long to grow, so
good point.
You'll be back out there swinging your clubs in no time.
Thank you.
And at least you will have better weather, and we will not have to worry about
heat stroke.
Yeah, about hearing on the news that Bobby Lieb went down.
I got my yeah. Somebody pushed him down. Yeah, I agree.
But all right, so you're going to travel more in the future. Any other plans for the rest of the year?
No, I don't think so. We got we have a sick dog, so that's kind of been So we've taking care of him and her now. So we had a brother and sister that we lost the brother. My wife's mom is turning 90, so we're gonna have a big party for her coming up.
That's gotta be fun.
It's gonna be phenomenal. Yeah, she got a lot of relatives. She lives here in town, but she's from Cleveland, so we're gonna have a lot of cousins. So I'd have to probably, that's a better question to ask my wife, what we have planned, but
next time I'll text her and ask
for
your schedule.
You might. She would be able to give you more of an answer.
Next time we have you on the podcast, I'll be like, hey, can I get his schedule?
Yeah, that might make sense, but my schedule is her schedule, but I think, hopefully our dog get better, but yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask you this. What do you think the key to a lasting relationship while being a real estate agent has been for you?
Especially working with your wife.
Yeah.
That's a tough question. I think I probably don't take as much time as I should spend because I'm so focused on doing what I'm doing. Can we change that to next? You didn't warn me on that question there, so I don't know if I have because I would be lying if I said that I'm not focused on the business world, but I think we have to work out equal time and equal visitation with each other. So I haven't always been good at doing that. So I think that's part of the 5-year plan too. If I can do it.
I can tell you from my perspective, okay. You have definitely shown a lot of gratitude for your wife, which I'm sure is appreciated.
Absolutely.
Because I'm sure you are just an angel to deal with at all times.
Especially working together in a nightclub. Yeah, I don't know how you spell angel, but no, there's another A word that probably you can it ends in a hole, and I could be called by her. No, you know what? It's it's especially with family because both my kids still live in Phoenix, so doing family events together, and we do we'll do Thanksgiving. We'll have the Jewish holidays. We'll have the family together. So those are kind of cool because my brother and I, we do go out to his family lives in town also. So we do go together as a family for dinner as him and I. We do that at least, especially for birthdays because there's a bunch. So at least that part. I'm making this up as we go along, so I'm trying to make excuses but we do the family thing. I think him and I, because both of us are in town, do a lot of events together, which is kind of neat.
It's different when
important.
It's different when your children are grown. I mean, I'm still trying to.
They want to be independent. Yeah.
Hold on to the at least every other Monday night.
How old are yours?
Dinner. 21 and 18.
Okay. Yeah, ours are 35 and 32, which is we're 33. Yeah.
I'm holding on as long as possible.
All right. Where'd they go to high school?
So my oldest went to Pinnacle, and then my youngest went to PV.
Okay.
So Crest program and all of that.
Gotcha.
So. And then my youngest works for Great American. She works as our print specialist.
Okay, awesome.
So anything that we print for you has probably gone through her hands.
Okay.
And my oldest got her esthetician's license because that's what she's into.
Okay.
And it's really cool to get to see them grow, but I'm definitely holding on to, hey, let's still come home for dinner.
Right.
Let's still check in.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're not
But you remember,
fully grown.
they're doing what we did to our parents.
I know.
That's the problem.
Yeah, well, I got married at 18 and
Wow.
moved to 29 Palms, California,
Wow.
because I married a Marine.
Okay.
So left Parker, which, by the way, is 45 minutes south of Lake Havasu City,
Okay.
if that helps you.
It doesn't. I don't even know where Havasu is. I've been there once, I guess. So
Arizona, California border.
okay.
There you go. But yeah, so I moved away very early, and so my mom was kind of like, went from like child in the nest to completely gone.
Right.
But no, it's interesting to see kids now and just try and keep them involved
Right.
in, whether it's a family dinner or whatever. And just so that you can be supportive of all the things that they're doing and growing and, eventually very, very, very long from now,
Right.
grandbabies and whatnot
Right.
for me. Maybe you're a little closer than I am, but
Not yet, but we're no.
but it's all the fun things to look forward
Right.
to, and it's cool to see them grow. I think there is a little bit of change that happens when they move out and then you're empty nesters, and you guys have made it through that very well. So, and you managed to work together. So I think
Right.
you guys are, I think as long as
It's
you
not
keep
easy.
up with the
Yeah.
do as she tells you, I think
Right.
you're going to be just fine.
That sounds like a wife's comment, right? Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with us today?
No, I mean, I think the relationship, as we said earlier, title companies are so important to our industry. I mean, it's great that I can sell a house, I can put it and make it happen and close on it, but we need you guys to. It's just a great. There's a bunch of parts. It's not just the fact that you can sell the house. We got to have you. There's a lot more. People have to realize, again, they didn't teach you in real estate school. What you guys do is amazing. I mean, all the research and keeping us out of trouble. I mean, we're keeping each other out of trouble.
Right.
That is just an important deal. So I think you're right. I mean, being associated with the title company, hopefully you have the realtors that are solid for you. And loyalty is a big deal. I mean, and I don't see a lot of that in our industry, but but the ones that are successful have loyal partners, and
Right.
that's how I think it works.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you very much
My
because
pleasure. I enjoy
I
it.
think that having somebody like yourself on to just talk, I think our agents are going to learn quite a bit from it. And I think it's always good to check in with agents that have made it work, especially in our industry, because you've watched the market cycles, you've seen what it takes, you know that it's a lot of hard work. So I greatly appreciate you
My
sharing your
pleasure.
time with
Thanks
me
for having me.
and providing value to all of our local community. And we'll hopefully have you come back soon.
If I pass the grade, I'll be back.
All righty
got it.
then. Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you. Appreciate it.